Alright guys, you guys know what time it is. We have to try this out, alright? So, something that I've been wanting to test out for a long time. Okay, how many pigeons can Ganyu kill? I'm sorry Timmy, I was really sorry, but I have to try this out. Oh my god! That is literally every single pigeon that Timmy has ever made friends with. 7 of them dead in an instant. Timmy is crying right now. He's so sad. He has no more pigeon friends. Hey, what is up guys? Guitar here, welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. Alright, so today we're gonna test out Ganyu, and of course there's plenty of builds guides have surfaced by now based on my testing so far. Alright, she is very flexible in terms of you can make her to be a support or a main DPS. Her charge shots are extremely powerful. Let me run away from this guy. Alright, so one thing to demonstrate and one thing that I want to take note of for any players out there watching this is regarding the charge shot mechanics, right? So when you perform charge shot on an enemy, right? So if you hit them in the weak spot, supposedly, you are always going to do a crit hit. It's going to be always registered as crit. So in some cases, for certain characters like Amber, if you want to focus on using charge shot, you don't really need crit rate at all. So you can actually just focus on building a bunch of crit damage and have very low crit rate, because you don't have to worry about crit rate, because every time you hit an enemy in their weak spot, which is their head, it will always register that shot as a crit. But for Ganyu, it's a little bit different, because for her skill right here, you're going to hit enemy with this frost leg arrow damage, alright, on the second charge, right? And then after that, there's this bloom damage as well, which deals a small AoE of cryo. So this is what makes her really unique. Now, if you want to benefit from this particular skill perfectly, ideally, you still need crit rate on her, alright? Because this 305%, if this doesn't crit, it's gonna deal so little. So for example, Mind Shot can deal about 2k with non-crit, but if it crits, it's gonna deal about 7k. So let me show you guys on the Ruin Guards, alright? So first we're gonna block. Damn, these rockets are annoying. Okay, so I get a lot of people telling me that it's better to, you know, if you can't shoot, if you can't aim them, just shoot the ground. If you play a mobile, just shoot the ground. Yes, you can do that for sure, but just keep in mind you're wasting your shots because you're not doing as much damage. When you hit them, right, you're getting that initial shot and the bloom damage afterwards. So if you hit on the ground, you are only, you know, getting the shot on the bloom damage, but not on the initial hit. So keep that in mind. So for those of you who actually play on mobile and you think you're going to struggle with aiming at the enemy, you ideally want to be able to hit them, right? So let's try and hit weak spot. Okay, so 4.5k and 2.8k. That 2.8k didn't crit at all. Alright, that was a crit. 7.7k on the second bloom. That was no crit on the second one. On the second one, that was no crit. On the second one, no crit. 2.8k. You can see 7.7k is the crit. So on the first one, right, you can see 1.7k, no crit. 1.7k, no crit. Second one did crit, right? So hopefully you guys can see the discrepancy right there. So in conclusion, ideally, you want to have crit rate on her. Alright, that's the whole point that I'm saying. Because a lot of players assume that, okay, you're going to always crit if you aim at the head, right? To aim at the weak spot. So you don't really need to build much crit rate on her. You still do need crit rate on Ganyu because she's a bit special. She has this bloom damage on the secondary shot, which relies on her crit rate. Alright, if your crit rate is relatively low, then you're gonna have very low damage output numbers. Alright, trying to hit shot. It's gonna be a bit difficult. Let's go. Her HP is quite low actually for Ganyu, so it's important to be very careful. Might even do a headshot. So with that being said, let's jump into the weapon. Alright, so I know there's multiple different ways of building her. So right now, as of me recording this, I'm currently using Favonius Warbow. So I'm still testing her slightly on the support role, but the more I test her, the more I feel like she's meant to be a main DPS. So this one does give energy recharge, which does help her to have her ult uptime consistently, alright, so that you can always recharge and get more energy per proc, alright, so energy recharge does help with that. And there are multiple options for free-to-play players. Right now in the shop, there's this particular bow called the Black Cleave Warbow. Now this is going to be a decent option on Ganyu because crit damage percent and base attack is 44, right? The base attack is quite incredibly high on this weapon. So Ganyu, you know, getting this effect off is no problem for her because she will be able to kill enemies in a large group of enemies, especially in an area, easily with her elemental skill and elemental burst. So this is no problem for sure. Now this weapon is ideally pretty good on Ganyu if you have the crit rate at a high enough amount, alright, so preferably at least 50% and above. But if you're struggling with crit rate, you know, putting more crit damage on her probably will not help. Another viable option is the prototype Crescent. So that particular bow does give you bonus attack and movement speed, but you are required to hit enemies in the weak spot. So if you are not good in your aim or you play on mobile, you think that's going to be a struggle for you, that weapon is not going to be good on your Ganyu, right? And of course, another option would be the Battle Pass weapon, the Viridescent Hunt. Now, this one is going to be quite good on her overall, just for the reason I mentioned earlier. Alright, crit rate is going to be very good on her. And also she can help with the grouping of the enemies. You have a 50% chance to basically try to attract the enemies. And this has a little bit of synergy with her elemental burst as well. So I do think that this is going to be a decent option for a lot of players who purchase the Battle Pass. And I feel like this is going to be a much easier bow to build up with because it gives crit rate, right? It gives a ton of crit rate. So if your artifacts has a ton of crit damage, you don't have to worry about crit rate that much. This is the route that I think most likely I'm gonna go towards too, just because I intend to buy the Battle Pass this month and I'm not sure what other weapons I'm gonna pick. Now, in terms of artifacts, there are plenty of options, alright? So I'm gonna show you guys my build. I decided to go for 2 Blizzard Strayer and 2 Noblesse Oblige. So I do think that this is going to be a balance between, you know, a DPS and a support, so she can hopefully fit both roles. Now, if you think that your Ganyu is going to lean towards the main DPS side of things, alright, a full set Blizzard Strayer is going to be pretty good on her. But you need to keep in mind, if you want to benefit from the 4-piece set effect, you need to apply freeze on the enemy. So therefore, you're going to need someone like Xingqiu, alright, or Mona, or even someone like Barbara to consistently apply Hydro to the enemy so that the freeze can reapply on them consistently. And another option that you want to go for if you are willing to just charge shots all the way is the Wanderer's Troop. Now this particular set is gonna be pretty good for sure. The only problem with this set is you can't really farm this in a domain, you have to fight the bosses. So if you happen to have some of these laying around with good substats, for sure, I think this is going to be a viable option. Alright, with that being said, let's show you my artifact specifically. Alright, so I have a plus 20 feather. This one is a bit triggering. Alright, I got defense, everything to defense. I was so upset, but from 6.6% defense to 20.4% defense? Come on. It is what it is, alright. I think realistically, some of you might actually have sucky artifacts like I do. You know, not everyone can get lucky with rolls. So this is what I have on my flower, plus 16 flower, alright. Crit rate, I guess, good attack percent and some energy recharge right there. And this is what I have for the circlet. We have crit damage right here, attack 10.5%, crit rate is 9.7%. And I gave her cryo damage bonus, plus 16 goblet, alright, 14.8% crit damage. And lastly, the Sense of Eon, attack percent. I didn't roll any into crit rate and crit damage if I'm not mistaken. Or I think I rolled once into crit rate. Everything else goes into Elemental Mastery, which again, you know, is a little bit upsetting. So as you guys can see, I am still testing her with this Favonius Warbow. Even though this is a level 60 weapon, I'm actually quite surprised by her damage. Alright, I'm gonna show you guys in a couple of battles. Alright, so here's the thing. So she was able to hit at least 4.5k to 7k if it crits on the second hit, as you guys can see. Alright, so that is actually very good. I know I've seen some Ganyu out there that does like 10k, so let's have a look. What about this skill? Alright, it's hitting on the GG match for about 2.7k per tick. If it crits, if it doesn't, it's 1k. Now as you can see, damage wise, I would say it's pretty good, right? So obviously, keep in mind that my artifacts is not that good, alright, and my weapon is like a level 60 4-star weapon. 8,000 pork! Okay, 8,000 is actually a lot for a level 60 weapon. So yeah, her damage is actually not that bad. I would say it's pretty good. I feel like she's a bit broken in terms of the damage. Her numbers are really high. Oh yeah, before we proceed further, I just want to mention that I have her at C0, Constellation 0, because some of the players that are new to the channel might assume that I am someone that pulls for Constellation. No, I don't. Alright, you can see some of them, even though I have the Constellation, I just leave them as it is, because I don't see the need to get some of the Constellation beyond C0. Ganyu is one of those, alright? If you can get her at C0, she's super fine as it is. In terms of the talents, right? I'm quite surprised that I have this much, what do you call this? Shadow of the Warrior. I have like this many of it. I have like 8 of these things. Alright, so hopefully if you guys are building your Ganyu, hopefully you have some of this. Usually you can fight the child boss and he would drop this. And he has been dropping this for me every single week. Gonna try to get her alt damage. Focusing on her elemental burst and the charge shot is going to be ideal, in my opinion. Because these two skills are the one that gives you the most damage. Just to make this, oh my god, 348%? Yeah, that is insane. Okay, so as you can see, again, I want you guys to keep in mind that my Ganyu was level 80 in this, throughout in this entire video, with a level 60 weapon, Favonius Warbow. It's not even a good weapon. Keep in mind that her potential may potentially increase later on in the future video. Hopefully, I'll try to work towards her, and I might consider getting the Battle Pass weapon for sure. Alright, so with that being said, let me know what you guys think of Ganyu in the comment section below. As always, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a nice day. Goodbye.